In Marvel Rivals, Knull's been mentioned quite a few times, but mostly he's been a background character as Doom is the big bad. But that doesn't mean Knull isn't one of the most threatening characters in the lore right now. So I thought I'd share with you what the current King in Black's plans are and why everybody's afraid of him. So I'm going to walk you through 3 stories here. One is Black Panther's story with Knull. The other is Adam, Warlock, and Venom, which happened at the same time. And if you guys like this video, I'll continue this storyline because a lot of you guys do like the Marvel Rivals lore. So let's jump right into it, Black Panther's story here. T'Challa, the plane where noble spirits dwell. Not long ago, this sacred place welcomed the guest whose mind and body were still as one. Through ancient ritual, King T'Challa of Wakanda transcended his corporeal form and ventured into this mythical realm. After an incident involving the Winter Soldier, Princess Shuri had confided in him her long-held belief that Bast, the Wakandan Panther goddess, had somehow been corrupted. T'Challa had his own concerns, so he ventured to T'Challa in search of answers. Shuri warned her brother of the potential dangers of communing with Bast, but T'Challa had to find out the truth for himself. When he arrived, T'Challa was shocked to find no other souls roaming the Great Belt. The ancestral plane was as silent as death itself. T'Challa wandered for some time, eventually sitting near the edge of a shimmering lake. He opened a small pouch on his belt and removed a strip of fabric, tying it over his eyes. He had often blindfolded himself when meditating in the physical plane to help block out any distractions. Taking a deep breath, T'Challa cleared his mind and called out to Bast. He did not have to wait long for a response. "My avatar, you are far from your empire," Bast whispered in T'Challa's mind. "As are you, my goddess," T'Challa replied. "Your people have been crying out for you, but get no response." "I have heard their prayers," Bast said, "and you will help me answer them." "I am ever at your service," T'Challa said. "Do not forget that," Bast said, a low mumble in her voice. "There are those eager to taint you against me, who will try to persuade you to betray me. Heed them not. They are fools and heretics." "I have always been loyal to you," T'Challa assured her. "Then prove yourself," Bast responded, her words becoming ever more fierce. "Swear that you serve only me and will strike down all who oppose my cause. Do so and I shall grant you unlimited power." In his mind's eye, T'Challa saw a vision of the heart-shaped herb used to grant the Black Panther's enhanced abilities. It now burned a fiery crimson. T'Challa's deepest fears were now confirmed. "Pledge yourself to me, boy," Bast growled in T'Challa's ear. T'Challa ripped off his blindfold, breaking his connection with the goddess. There, in the rippling water in front of him, he swore he saw an image of his goddess, warped and twisted, stained red and black, with a repulsive aura beyond anything he had ever felt. T'Challa dove into the water and tried to grab a hold of the divine being, but it slipped through his grasp. Instead, he awoke on the floor of his bedchamber in front of a vibranium statue of Bast. Its eyes shone brightly for a split second, then faded to black. "If you can hear me, goddess," T'Challa vowed, placing a gentle hand on the statue's head, "I will not rest until your holy spirit is purged of this darkness. You have my word." In the beginning, there was darkness. The universe was no more than an endless void, a vast expanse of silent nothingness until celestial forces shaped the stars and nurtured life into being. Just as the universe began in darkness, so did I, created within a protective cocoon from which I burst forth, fully formed, a golden guardian designed to bring peace to the galaxy with my vast cosmic might. But there was a cycle to life, and just as I was born from this cocoon, now I have returned to it, much sooner than I could have anticipated. My cosmic awareness sensed that something was amiss, a great disturbance in the fabric of time and space itself. As multiple realities and timelines became entangled, I reflexively shielded myself with a protective shell. If I truly hope to fulfill my ultimate purpose, then I have to bide my time and build my strength for the trials ahead. But what would they be? Even with my deep connection to the primal forces of the universe, I was both literally and figuratively in the dark once more. As I slumbered within my restorative sheath, it became a wayward vessel floating through the cosmos. I was no longer in control of my own destiny, merely a passenger adrift on the currents of fate. The silence out among the stars brought a sense of tranquility that I had not experienced since before my birth. That serenity would not last long. "Adam!" A voice called my name, echoing not in my ears, but inside of my mind. Whatever was calling me was reaching out across a void with a psyche even more powerfully attuned than my own. "We are not so different, you and I," the voice continued. "We both slumber while the multiverse burns around us. Some gods we are." As the powerful words pulsed within my brain, an image began to form in my mind's eye. A man confined to a sacred chamber. Not quite a cocoon like my own. His was nearly as old as time itself, yet similar in many ways. The bearded man within was frail and weak, devoid of power, but he was not always so. As my mind flooded with brief glimpses of his storied past, it became clear that he was once a mighty king that ruled a glorious realm for centuries on end. "Time is something I have never feared," he said inside my mind. "Not until now. Time and space are twisting around us, and I am trapped in here within the Odin Sleep, unable to do a bar damn thing about it." The Odin Sleep? Of course! I knew the voice was familiar, even if the man himself no longer was. It belonged to the All-Father of Asgard, mighty Odin. Had he fallen to the same forces that had caused me reflexively to retreat into my cocoon? Nay, Odin replied, reading my own thoughts. I was brought low by the machinations of my own son. The foul child has usurped the throne of Yggdrasil and is set to destroy our proud legacy for his own selfish ends yet again. Did he say Yggdrasil? How curious. But the proper name of his realm was the least of my concerns. While the rage that Allfather felt about his son's actions was palpable, there was something more beneath it. A deep concern that spanned far beyond the realm he once ruled. You too are preparing for a battle when you awaken, Golden One, Odin said. And while my son may indeed test your mettle, he is not but a distraction from your true enemy. There is a darkness in the cosmos, Adam, one far deeper than that of our slumbers. I have felt it trying to creep its way into my realm. Even into my own dreams should I be set loose. I fear that it will corrupt all it touches, snuffing out the stars themselves until nothing remains. What could he be speaking of? I called out to Odin for an answer, but his voice had muted to nothing more than a distant echo. As my cocoon drifted past the embattled realm of Yggdrasil, I left a small fraction of my soul's energy behind with the sleeping Odin. A hint of light to keep the darkness he spoke of at bay. I prayed it would be enough. Now that my cosmic awareness had been fully awakened, I could sense another empire on the horizon. This one was not nearly as ancient as Odin's realm, yet its own gods seemed just as eager to call my name. Warlock, she said with a growl of disdain. You have come a long way to die. Was I being threatened merely for passing through the space? How rude. The intergalactic empire of Wakanda shall not harm you, traveler, the voice continued, but those beyond our borders will not be nearly as kind. Of that, you have Bast's word. Bast, the Panther goddess, a member of Orisha, a pantheon of deities worshipped by the people of Wakanda. But last I recalled, Wakanda was merely a notion on the planet of Earth, not an interstellar civilization. Could I have drifted into another reality? More precisely, Bast interrupted. Other realities have drifted to you. This time stream entanglement has brought us together from across a multitude of planes. What is left of each universe is converging into one, as if we had been gathered. Gathered? For what? For the feast. As Bast snarled her final words into my mind, it became clear that a divine presence had somehow been corrupted. Could she have been tainted by the very same darkness that Odin had warned me of? I had no way of knowing, as my journey across the spaceways had already continued deeper into the heart of this strange patchwork galaxy. Child of the light, a third voice suddenly echoed within me. This one I could identify without hesitation. It spoke with such raw power that it could only belong to a celestial, an ancient being spawned at the dawn of time, but yet, even though its words passed through my consciousness with tremendous force, they were softer than other celestials I had encountered, muted, faded, like distant memories. You would be wise to listen, lest my fate end up being yours as well, the celestial implored, though I had little choice to give it anything less than my undivided attention. As you know, we celestials were born out of the beginning of all that is, it continued, but we were not the first. There was a primordial force that came before us, a creature of pure darkness, so powerful that he could strike down any who threatened to shed light upon the endless oblivion he ruled. Even the celestials themselves, I struggled to imagine a foe so formidable. Few can wrap their minds around his nihility, and yet here I am, slain by his sword, with nothing left of me but an empty husk and the echoes of consciousness. But there were far more than just the remains of a fallen celestial in the void beyond my cocoon. I could sense that now. There was also a hint of corruption, not unlike the one that had tainted Bast, but this one not found in the disembodied mind of the slaughtered celestial. Rather, it lingered on the great being's lifeless body, like an infected sore that had been festering for millennia. You feel him too, the voice echoed. His tainted touch has stained my corpse for eons, but now as time collapsed around us, he has awakened once more, eager to revel in this oncoming oblivion. I have called out to others like you, great cosmic forces, ancient warriors, even the gods themselves for help in containing his eternal blackness, but they have either retreated or succumbed to his poison. Perhaps you will fare better. Hoping the celestial is right, I reached out with my mind, desperate to identify the source of his cosmic impurity. My thoughts became clouded as I heard the celestial scream a final warning. Beware, child of light! He has found you! Who has found me? The celestial did not answer, but another voice did, with a tone 1,000 times darker than the blackness within my cocoon. Knull! As he spoke his own name, I could feel his dark tendrils digging into my mind. The ruler of the void, this king in black, had awakened somewhere, and was dragging me towards him. Try as I might, I could not escape his grip. Do not give up hope, child, the celestial said, its voice rapidly fading. You will not be alone. Suddenly a burst of cosmic fire erupted through the heavens, producing a flash so brilliant that it permeated my walls of my cocoon. The light lasted only a second, but its usual shape forever burned itself into my mind. A majestic bird, its flaming wings spanning across the cosmos. Before I could process what had happened, the vessel that was meant to protect me now hurtled through space towards a destination unknown. My body was still confined, but my mind was in a heightened state where there had once been blinding light, now darkness and despair had slithered their way in. I was overcome with images of the horror that Knull had once committed, and those he had yet to unleash upon the universe. I could see his past and future, but what of his present? That, it seemed, was shrouded in mystery. A void greater than Knull himself. Suddenly, my journey across a galaxy came to a violent end as my vessel made impact against a most unusual surface. Was this a planet? No, I could feel it writhing around me, as if it were alive, and more. I could feel Knull's sinister presence, closer more than ever. Wherever I was, he was as well. Before my cocoon could be dragged beneath the churning sea of oblivion surrounding him, a single crack appeared above me. Where before there was nothing, now there was the faintest glow, the faintest hope. I pushed through, emerging from my cocoon to gaze upon the surface of a world teeming with alien life. And as my mind touched their hive mind, it all became clear. This was Clintar, the planet of the symbiotes. It was here that Knull was once worshipped as a god. It was here that his own followers imprisoned him eons ago. And it was here that he was biding his time, regaining his strength, in hopes to break free and claim his prize once more. Perhaps he had dragged me here to snuff out my light before it could drown out his shadows. But he made a grave miscalculation. I broke free first. As I stood upon Knull's planet-sized prison, I made a solemn vow to do anything in my power to make sure this infinite blackness would not go unchecked. In the beginning, there was darkness, but in the end, there will be light, and I shall be the one to help it shine. So that was the first two parts, and we've got Venom's lore last. But before we hop into Venom's story, if you like this video, definitely subscribe for more. I've been trying to keep consistent. I'm doing weekly videos, whether they be Marvel Rivals, Titanfall, or anything in between. Sometimes we do Dead by Daylight. And if you want to talk to me or just stay up to date, or maybe even play some games, then you should definitely join my Discord, which is going to be linked down below or linked up here. We chill, we chat, we hang out. It's a whole ton of fun, so you should definitely join my Discord for updates on all my videos and all my streams, which I do every day, which is also going to be linked down below or linked up here. Without further ado, Venom's story. How in all the splinter realms did you get out of your cage? The young blonde girl asked as she effortlessly cleaved another foe in half with her enormous sword. Nothing can hold us for long, child, the hulking creature answered, for we are Venom. What about the legion of limbo demons I left to guard you, replied the mutant known as Magic, as she lifted her soul sword to deliver another fatal blow. Venom smiled as his enormous tongue licked away the strings of spittle dripping from his black lips. Never mind. Don't tell me, Magic continued. I'm well aware of what your kind can do. Symbiotes nearly devoured my entire home dimension. It's why I put you on lockdown to begin with. Venom was used to being blamed for the voracious appetites of his symbiotic brethren. But what this child didn't seem to realize was that Venom was more than just a rippling mass of xenomorphic protoplasm. A fearsome sight of claws and tongue and teeth, all ready to deal deadly damage to anyone who dared oppose him. Underneath his alien exterior was a regular human, named Eddie Brock. The symbiotic bond shared by the pair granted Eddie extraordinary abilities and given the alien a purpose. Together, as Venom, they had become a lethal protector, stalking the streets to bring their own brand of justice to those who harm the innocent. Or at least so they thought. To be honest, the details of Venom's past felt a little hazy. When his own reality collapsed around him, the Clintar hive mind that connected Venom to his fellow symbiotes overloaded Eddie's brain and left him and his alien counterpart completely disoriented. They weren't quite sure where they had come from, and they certainly weren't sure where they were, or when they were. We're free now, Venom said, assessing his former captor, and you look far less dangerous than they do. You'd be surprised, Magic retorted. We'll take our chances, little one. Venom continued, stepping forth to join his beautiful but deadly new companion in the fray. So, who are we fighting? The gods, Magic replied casually. Well, the ones that are left. As Venom surveyed the endless battlefield, he realized that the young mutant was not exaggerating. Somehow, he had ended up in the Netherrealm where occult forces were locked in an eternal war. This was far beyond the types of battles he had previously been accustomed to. Fighting criminals and Spider-Man on the streets of New York was easy compared to facing off against demons and demigods in a cross-dimensional hellscape. In a place like this, there was no right and wrong, no innocent and guilty. There were divine forces at war, and both halves of Venom were beginning to realize just how mortal they were. How can we possibly slay gods, little one? Venom asked, genuinely curious. A big sword always works for me, Magic replied with a smile, giving her own weapon another skillful thrust into an oncoming horde. Venom almost let out a chuckle, glad to finally find a taste of humor amidst the horror of the strange war. But instead, he fell to his knees and let out a primal scream as daggers of pain suddenly pierced through every fiber of his being. It was as if an alarm had sounded inside his head, sending his symbiote side into a frenzy. In his mind, he saw images of distant planets shrouded in darkness, accompanied by the anguished cries of a million living creatures. But there was something more. Something was alive deep inside the world itself. Someone whose presence felt as cold as the void of space, and they were desperate to find a way out. What just happened? Magic asked, offering a hand to help Venom to his feet. The hive mind, Venom said, slowly recovering his senses. "It's a group of consciousness, a kind of network that allows symbiotes to communicate, and they just sent us one hell of a message." "What did it say?" Magic asked, hiding her fear of what the answer might be. "They want us to come home to their planet," Venom responded. "They want us to slay Knull before he can slay us all." "Knull? Who's that?" Magic inquired. Their god," Venom said. "Then you'd better get yourself a sword," Magic replied dryly before returning her attention to the battle at hand. "The bigger, the better." "Yes," Venom mused, "and we think we know where to find one." Venom had heard the legends from his symbiote kin. Long ago, Knull wielded a mighty blade known as All Black, the Necro Sword. It was said that he had once used the weapon to strike down a Celestial, one of the oldest and most powerful cosmic entities in the known universe. Stories claim that Knull triumphed, but the Necro Sword was lost in the fray. Lost, but perhaps not gone forever. If the sword was still out there somewhere, Venom knew he had to find it, but he was more skilled at swinging through dark alleys and surfing the spaceways. "So, how do we get to the other side of the galaxy before all of reality is consumed by darkness?" Venom asked, not expecting Magic to have an answer. "Easy," she responded, her eyes beginning to sparkle with energy. "Just show me where you want to go." Venom reached out to the young girl, allowing a small portion of his symbiote half to slither onto her bare skin. As the alien entity formed a new bond with Magic, it instinctively tapped into her mutant ability to open interdimensional portals. In the blink of an eye, a doorway across the cosmos had opened in front of them. As Venom stepped through the portal and into the unknown, he turned and waved to Magic. "Thank you, madam," he uttered. She nodded back knowingly before returning her attention to her arcane enemies. Both warriors had impossible battles ahead, yet they were well aware that they had no choice but to keep fighting for as long as it took to claim victory. As relieved as he was to leave the war-torn netherworld behind, Venom had no time to celebrate his escape. Everything was being drowned out by the collective fear coursing through the symbiote hive mind. If Knull were to return, he would not rest until all that was left was an endless oblivion. The King in Black was determined to rule once more, and his first act would be to erase all life in the universe. Venom could not let that happen. When Venom emerged from Magic's gateway, he found himself standing upon the towering remains of a slaughtered Celestial adrift in the void. He could sense a darkness on its colossal corpse, similar to the sensation he felt when the hive mind revealed Knull's presence on their homeworld. He soon saw the hilt of a sword jutting from the Celestial's side. Around the wound the buried blade had inflicted, an ebony energy bubbled and churned like a cosmic infection that had been left untreated for eons. Venom reached out for the handle of the Necrosword. He began to pull, but the blade would not budge. Its darkness had spread across the Celestial's armored surface, cementing it in place. But Venom was never one to give up so easily, so he pulled again, and again, and again, but to no avail. With his full focus on the task at hand, Venom failed to notice that he was no longer alone. Some sort of cosmic cocoon, a mysterious vessel with an even more mysterious stranger had drifted close to the Celestial remains. And little did Venom realize that the man slumbering inside this protective shell had just awoken what was left of the fallen Celestial's consciousness. As Venom gave the hilt of All Black one last mighty pull, the Celestial let out a psionic scream, not from the physical pain of the blade impaled on its side, but rather from the mental anguish it was experiencing as it communed with its other cosmic companion. But the reason behind the Celestial's screech did not matter to Venom. All that he cared about were the end results. Knocked back by the Celestial's violent outburst of pain, Venom was sent tumbling aimlessly through space. As he plummeted through the void, he watched as All Black, now awakened from its slumber, bury itself deeper into the Celestial until it disappeared from view. He would have to find his way back to it with aid, perhaps from his new mystic ally, if he could survive crash landing into the planet that he was swiftly approaching, that is. Bracing himself, Venom feared he was about to leave behind nothing more than an impact crater as his legacy. But his arrival on the planet's surface was unexpectedly soft, as if he had been caught and cradled by a million loving hands. As he rose, he realized that there was a good reason for a surprisingly safe landing. He was home. This was Clintar, planet of the symbiotes, and they had unexpected company. Nearby, Venom saw an unusual object, the very same cosmic cocoon that he had failed to notice during his time at the Celestial remains. It too had been hurled through the void onto Clintar's surface, delivered as if by fate itself. But while Venom was welcomed home by his brethren as a champion, the cocoon was seemingly about to be swallowed by a sea of hungry symbiotes. Venom could not allow that, now without knowing what or who was inside. With fang and claw, he tore through the cocoon's protective outer shell. Within moments, a figure emerged from the inside, clearly more golden god than mortal man. Venom watched and waited as the new rival gained his bearings. Not sure if he was friend or foe, his question was swiftly answered as the luminous warrior turned and attacked him. "Don't know who you are, Goldie," Venom said, watching the planet undulate around him. "But we've got work to do and I won't let you stand in my way." "I am Adam Warlock," the man said, "and I will not let you corrupt this universe with your darkness, living shadow." Venom instantly lowered his shoulders and laughed. "You think we are Knull," he said. "You've got it all wrong, sir. We are no King in Black. We are the one who came here to end his reign." permanently. Adam Warlock paused and looked at Venom. He had not expected to find himself fighting alongside a creature of such darkness, but he would gladly accept any ally willing to join him in his crusade. The battle for the fate of the universe was about to begin, and for the first time in ages, Venom felt as if they knew exactly who they were and where they belonged. They would stand on the side of light, as long as the faintest glimmer still remained. So that was Knull. As you can tell, he's a pretty big presence in Marvel Rivals and definitely a big looming threat. So I think after Doom, we're going to go into the storyline of Knull, and he's going to try and take over every dimension and, rule everything and put it into eternal oblivion or whatnot. Evil people stuff. So if you want me to continue to cover that, you should definitely subscribe and let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate you guys watching the end. I really appreciate you guys subscribing and, doing all of that. It really helps me out a ton, and it's all free. So I really appreciate it, guys, and I really appreciate you guys watching the end. I hope you guys had a great Christmas, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Peace out.